Hello, and welcome to my channel. Is anybody out there? That's kind of what I want to say. Is anybody out there? Hello? I know, I'm not patient. We're very new. I want overnight success. Not really. I really need to learn. I really need to learn patience. I think that's what this is about. So I know some of you are out there. I really want to encourage you to look below this video and get the contact information, and let's have a conversation on Zoom that we'll have on this channel. Let's hear your comments. So today, what I want to talk about is something that we've been talking about a little bit, in I think one other or two other videos, is the combination of fear, how we live with our fear, what do we do with our fear, and the need or desire to control, because I believe they're very related. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get started, as normal, I always ask you to like the video if you like it, be sure and subscribe. Love to hear your comments, and I'll kind of repeat that at the end. I do that at the beginning, especially to let you know that my contact information is below, and if you'd like to have a conversation with me about anything. Again, this channel, I really want it based on stories or life journeys, stories from everyday people just like you and me. And what is everyday people? Well, I don't know. I'm just meaning you don't have to be a guru or a teacher. I'm certainly not a teacher. I'm a connector, a sharer, a talker, a storyteller. And that's what I'm looking for, can we have some conversations? And the purpose of these conversations is to really help others, because that's how I believe it works. I pretty much believe that, particularly at this time that we're in as this human race, human species, that it is more important now than ever before that we actually communicate well with each other, learn to be kind to each other, and support each other. And our life journey stories, the stories that have been part of our life journey, is what can draw us together, is where we'll begin to understand that we're much more alike than not alike. So that's what my vision is. We could call it a vision, I guess. So that's what I'm hoping to have happen. In the meantime, I'll be just doing my little deal here where we talk about different subjects, maybe different ways that somebody might go, click, I want to talk about that. Yeah. So, as I mentioned, today I want to talk about the fear factor and control. Now, before I even talk about fear or control, let me remind us that everything begins from within. There is nothing out there in the external world that can be fixed. It all has to be, if you want to call it fixed, it has to be dealt with from within. So it can look like that in the outer world, let's talk about fear for a moment, that you're having some real fear coming up because of something that's happened in the external world. Let's just say you lost your job. There's a lot of layoffs going on right now, particularly where I am, but I think everywhere. In Silicon Valley for sure, a lot of the tech companies are laying off. And so let's say you're one of those people that have been laid off, and because you live in this area of California, our cost of living is very high. And you may have great concern that's now turning into fear about how are you going to be able to keep up with your bills and take care of your family without this income. And will you be able to get another job quickly because so many of the tech companies are laying off. Now that could look like this going on outside in this world could look very fearful, and you can attach to that. But what it's really doing is it's triggering your fear factor. It's triggering what's going on inside of you. So fear is not real. It's made up. It's an illusion. It happens from our beliefs and our conditioning that we've had growing up. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of awareness, we could call it fear, where we know better than to, we learn don't walk in front of a bus. Look both ways before you cross the street. There's that, I'll call it a prudent way of noticing fear, but that's a whole different world, and it feels very, very different. It's in the moment, and in that moment, the adrenaline kicks in, and you start running from the tiger. It's not what we're talking about here. I like to call it emotional fear, because I think, one, fear is emotion, and two, it's happened from conditioning and belief systems of all that have happened in the past. All have happened in our growing up, in our childhood, which is the past. And then it gets triggered by outer events. So I'm not to say that you don't have a reason to be concerned if you've lost your job or you got laid off, and that no biggie. I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying, and I want to communicate that when you're coming from fear, this is not the place that you're going to be able to really work with the situation in the best possible way. In fact, if anything, it's going to hold you back. That's what fear does. It either holds you back or propels you forward if you're fearful of not getting something, or you want to buy something and it's a sale, and so you're afraid you're going to lose, so you move into that fear thing. Let me have a sip here. Okay. Okie dokie. So that's what I'm speaking about. How do we deal with our fear? Well, it has to happen from the inside out. I happen to be going through a lot of my fear right now, in fact, it's crazy. It's not something coming from the external, but it's popping up I believe, to let me know that I haven't completed this process of releasing what no longer serves me. So I'll have just fear come up, come in the form of a panic attack. It shows up in different ways, and the only way to release it is to allow yourself to feel it, allow it to be there. Do not run from it. Do not try to fix it from your head, trying to come up with a strategy. Allow it to be there, and yes, it is very, very uncomfortable. But when you can allow that fear to be there within you, just be with it, breathe with it, breathe through it, it actually moves through you. It's an energy, and energy is always in motion. So this energy is going to move through you. Now this takes some practice, and it also takes a desire to allow fear to really move outside of your system, to really get to know your fear on an intimate level, so it isn't actually being, in a way, driving your life. It actually, you can get to a place where fear just doesn't come up in that way any longer. So you're coming and making decisions from your higher self, your intuitive place, not from fear, because whenever we make decisions from fear, we can pretty much be assured it isn't going to work. It's not going to help us in any way. I think there's right now going on a lot of fear, just collective fear. It's just out there in this situation that we're in right now as we move through this evolutionary time. And so you can just look out there and feel it. You can feel the energy of fear is just kind of hanging out there. And we're energetic beings, and so we'll pick up on fear that way as well. Let's just say that there's no limitation of fear, that's for sure. So in order to really move past this, again, it takes a desire. I think it takes courage, no doubt about it. And but the goal, so if you can look at what's the end result, if I could really live life with no fear, what would that be like? I'd be in the flow. I'd be living life in the moment, in the flow. I'd be making decisions from the right place, the intellect. That's where it all happens. That's where it all comes from. It would be an amazing experience, there's no doubt. And I think most of us, if we really look within and we recognize and we're aware that there's fear going on that really oftentimes controls us, or we think it controls us, it feels like it controls us, we know it's just not a pleasant thing to have. It's not a pleasant thing to experience. And it's not like, well, fear's just part of life and you have to experience it. No, it's not that either. Fear appears to be part of life, but we don't have to live through it. We don't have to have it be a significant part of our lives and how we make decisions or don't make decisions. It's going to take some time, some sitting down quietly with the fear and then feeling it in your body. People are going to feel it in different places. For me, it's always the solar plex, right? You know, that area, right? Well, we all know solar plex. So that's where I feel it. And it's very, very, very uncomfortable. But how you do it is you begin to feel it, you breathe. Breathing is most important during this time. So you're taking deep breaths in and letting them out. And you're just staying with it, even though there's a part of you that wants to run away, distract yourself, grab something to eat, whatever. Just sit with it. And I promise you, really, I promise, because it happens for me, and if it can't happen for me, it'll happen for you, and I know it happens for a lot of people, it soon moves through you. It soon dissolves. Now, is that the end of it? No. You have to do this each and every time it comes up because we have a lot of fear triggers. So from our fears can be triggered from so many places. Somebody says something to you, you hear something on the news, you get laid off, whatever it is. Fear's always available to be triggered. What we're wanting to do is take those triggers from our interior, from inside, release them once and for all so that we can live with contentment and peace of mind, and our experiences will come from our intuition, from our guides, from that calm, knowing place. That's what we want to do. So I hope that's helped kind of get a little more focus, maybe I'm going to call it, on our fears, on some things that we can take into action and start to do to help us move through it. So that is fear. Now, let's talk a minute about control. Because control is something that we all feel a sense of wanting to do. As human beings, we really, really want to have control. When we don't have control, it feels very, very uncomfortable. When we feel that we're out of control, there's a panic that sets in. But here's the deal. We're not in control. It's another part of the illusion. It's like fear. We don't control anything. We really don't. Now, some people will say, well, you can control your reaction to something. You can control what you eat if you're on a diet. You can control what you do or what you don't do. It's a very gray line there, because the truth is there is nobody here to control. It comes from the ego, where we think we have control, or the ego, that character that we've all invent. All of us do that as we're young children. In fact, they say by 7 years old, we've already got this false identity going on. And that's where we begin to think that we're in control. Now, moving through this idea that I'm not in control, you're not in control, is very frightening while we're still identified with that character that we think is in control. I mean, to feel we're not in control can be terrifying. You know, it's like, oh my God, then what's going to happen? Well, there's got to be a trust factor that your higher self, which is unseen and just needs to be trusted, is where, if you want to call it, control takes place. It's not control in that sense. It's the allowing life to move through you from, we can call it the higher self, source, God, whatever suits you. I happen to call it my higher self or my spirit or source. It's life moving through us. Body is just a vehicle to experience being a human, to experience the form, to experience all the senses, the seeing, the tasting, the hearing, etc. But it's just an experience. This is just a vehicle, just like our car. We get in the car, we know we're not the car. The car is just taking us from here to there, right? So this is a way we begin to start to understand, and the word understand is really a wrong word to use. I want to better say experience this idea of we're not in control. Now this is a tough one. It really is, because we can slip right back in 2 seconds. We could have a meditation and we totally get it. Okay, I'm not in control. It's a good thing. I don't want to be in control, and life is going to just move through me, and I'm going to be in the flow, and I'm going to be in peace and contentment and all of that. And we can have that experience in meditation or just being in nature or whenever, happen in the shower, you know? We can get that experience. We can get a taste of it. But then it's so easy because we're so conditioned and we're so much in our beliefs that any little thing triggers us to get back into that desire of thinking we're in control. It's very unconscious in a way. We don't even notice what's going on, but what we do notice is the suffering, the discomfort that we feel when we feel we need to be in control of something, or we're trying to control something. You know, I see it like an octopus. I think I've said this before, especially for myself, like I'm trying to control all these different places of my life in order not to feel whatever I think I'm going to feel if something doesn't happen the way I think it should happen. And so I'm this octopus out there trying to control every aspect, and it's all a joke. It's just a joke. But we have to get to that place of really not understanding, experiencing, getting on some level that, okay, it's all a joke. This control thing. So I think this is another place where I would love to hear from some of you about how do you do this in your life. When you notice you're out of control by trying to be in control, maybe that's the way we could say it, or you're aware that you're trying to control something you can't control, like maybe your neighbor, any friend. You know, we can't control others either. We cannot control what other people do or say or how they are. We just can't any more than we can control our life like we think we can. When we can release the tension around control, we begin to see things in a very different way. We see things from a completely different lens or point of view, we could say. We see things from a place of peace, kind of a peaceful acceptance, you could say. It's a whole other realm. It's a whole other way of living life, and it's so, so much more pleasant, in fact, enjoyable. So we all have those moments. I know we do. But for many of us, those moments are fleeting. So how do we get more of these moments? It really does require one, motivation or a decision that you want to work on your inner self. You want to, and maybe we shouldn't say work on, because I don't know that that's a good word either. Maybe we should say pay attention. Be aware of your inner world. And as many times as you can, and I know, if you have young children, you're working full time, it's very, very hard to find quiet time. Or when you finally do, you're so exhausted that you're going to fall asleep. I know that world, believe me. But if you're highly motivated to really experience a life without this uncomfortable or suffering or anxious feelings that we live through every moment of every day, most of us are not even aware of it, then we've got to somehow take that time to go within. Now, we don't have to become a monk to do this. And everybody's different. It's not like one size fits all. One size never fits all. So it may be, for some, you're just kind of on the cusp of getting this next step and moving outside of some of the control or some of the fear. And for others, you're just maybe beginning this idea. So it's taking a little more time. It's going to take more of a focus on it. It's just like when I started this video and I said, is anybody out there I want overnight success? Well, that's not how it works out there anywhere, really. Well, I don't think so anyway. We have to put some focus and some desire and some sincerity, some sincerity into what we're really aiming for. So that's where it really begins, is where are we coming from within? If we're coming from, I don't want this, get it away from me, then we just suffer. If we're coming from a place of of accepting where we're at, accepting, I don't like this, I really want to run away from it, I want to have more control over my life, and we start looking through that lens, then we just stay overwhelmed, in confusion, and stuck. That's it. And you can experience this for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Experience it. Check it out and see how that feels. So I think that probably looking at it from this point of view, if we could, and we can, for both the fear and the control, because they're very related, as I'm sure you would agree. Because, it's fear that causes us to think we can control. It's in the fear that we want to be able to stop something from happening or make something happen. So they are really close relatives, let's say. So we can so here's the good news, we can work on them both at the same time. We really can just kind of get in touch with them at the same time. Maybe a little overwhelming, so give yourself a break, but we can definitely move a step beyond, a step beyond, a step beyond. And I think, again, my idea is let's have a conversation about the different ways to look at control, the stories of where you've seen things backfire on you because you were trying to control something, or things backfire because you were so stuck in the fear. Or maybe you have a whole other different point of view than what I'm even talking about, and that would be fabulous to be able to open the discussion up to that point of view. Everybody right now, I feel, really needs help, really needs support. And now when I say needs help, not as a victim, no, not as a victim, but really support. Let's call it support. And the more we can support one another, and the more we can discover that we're more alike than not alike, the more as a conscious beings, let's put it that way, we can move into a much, much better space of peace, of mind, of contentment, of enjoyment, having a whole different, it's a different realm. So because all this stuff right now, it's coming up, it's in our face. I know me, right now, my fear is in my face. It will not let me go. And like I said, it isn't even being necessarily triggered from the outer world, from the external world. It's just stuff coming up of, without necessarily a story. It's just this really terrifying fear feeling inside of me, what I can't even identify, and I don't try, because we don't need to identify where it comes from or what it is. We just need to identify it's there, and then do that release. I think it might have been yesterday's video, but I don't have these being posted in chronological order, so to speak. So, but it was where I talked about, I have a major fear thing with blood, my blood or anybody else's blood, and that yesterday my husband cut himself pretty good. And when I say it, I get that feeling. But anyway, it really caused me to really allow that feeling. It's a certain feeling with blood, an energy that runs through my body that I feel in different places in my body. And like I said, I'm 99% sure this happened from a past life. I don't want to know the past life. I just think that's where it started. Anyway, so I've done a pretty good job, I have to say. Now, I don't know how far I have to go, but since yesterday, when I get that sense, or the mind wants to go to that experience, I'm immediately breathing and releasing, and I'm feeling freer with it. I'm feeling like I'm not going to suffer as much with it. I feel more of I think the word is freedom, I just feel more free that I can deal with this, okay? It's not control it, but just deal with it through this technique, if we want to call it a technique. Who cares? I don't care what I call it. If it can help me, great. So that's really, as I got aware of this, has really helped me. So on some level, I'm saying to myself, well, welcome these opportunities. Not like I want to see a bunch of blood right now. I'm not saying that. No, God, please, no. But welcome the opportunity that I had this awareness to, and also the feeling. See, the feeling is coming up so intense now. That's what starts to happen, is you open the door to something, so to speak. Open the door, let something come through. It becomes very intense, very much, like I said, in your face, because this is an opportunity to really work through releasing that energy. So I think for a lot of us now, we don't have to wonder where fear is. The planet's full of it right now. The collective is full of fear. So fear is there, and this fear causes the desire to control. So we've got it on steroids right now. So it's a great opportunity, one could say, to look in a more positive way, to really work with this situation, work with the energy. So I think that's about all there is to say at this moment, without being overly redundant about the situation. And hopefully everybody kind of got what I mean, bug a bean. Hopefully somebody, or maybe more than just one somebody, maybe some bodies, were helped by this. I really hope so, because that's really, I keep doing this in hopes of helping someone. So I hope that's definitely a goal. Okie dokie, so I'm going to remind you that my contact information is below this video. And I would love to hear from you via comment or contact me, and let's have a conversation. Also, if you like this video, please click like and subscribe. And click the little doodad next to subscribe, and you'll find out when my videos are going to be posted. I'm going to try to do more videos more often, that's what I should say. We'll see how that goes, but I might give that a shot as well. And hopefully in the very near future, sooner than later, we'll start having some conversations via Zoom. In the meantime, you guys, take care and do something nice for yourself and breathe. I think that's good. Just breathe. That helps a lot. See you next time. Clicking.